And I've asked Leah to talk a little bit about, how do you kind of structure your days? Because, often people think it has to look like school, and they feel maybe they feel like their child needs structure, or you get told by other people that, how you're going to get how you can't be going out during this time and that time because they should be in school or whatever. We hear a lot of things, and we are ourselves schooled into a certain mindset. So Leah is going to talk a little bit about how do you prioritize and take all these, your family circumstances and all of that into account. So over to you, Leah.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend going to the supermarket in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, because unless you're ready for a Q&A from the assistant at the desk. I don't know how many other people have had those yet, but I thought after many years of home educating, my children and I would be used to the questions we get in the supermarket. But yes, sometimes that happens. And I have many answers. I have a little kitty of answers from all my children. So, I mean, the answer, obviously, do you have to have a timetable or a strict way of going about things? Of course not. Whenever before I have a mentoring session or a coaching session, one of the key pre-conversation questions for me is I ask the mum, the parent teacher, tell me about your personality. If you know what Enneagram you are or what Myers-Briggs you are, tell me about that. And then we can base I can base my advice on a little bit of understanding of this person and how they're wired and how they navigate the world, because all of us navigate the world in a different way. Now, that's just us, but then we've got to observe our children. And if your household is anything like mine, it's a real mix of varying ways of seeing the world and wirings of brains and personalities and approaches to their kind of schoolwork, their reading, whatever their studies. We have some night owls and some early birds. I mean, it's just such a mix, isn't it? Even if you've just got one child, it's between you and them. How is this going to work? So I would definitely say, have a little think about yourself. Like, what do you know about you? How do you navigate your days? I know that I always appreciated, I feel like I am a little bit kind of like organic, a bit of bohemian. I like to move throughout the day with what I feel, but actually I like to have a little list as well. I like to know, okay, there's chunks of the day. And I found whilst raising children, whilst home educating them, that actually knowing what's going on at certain points in the day was brought a security to them. And I talk a lot from the Charlotte Mason philosophy about the atmosphere of the home being a key component, an educational tool for us. And I think security and this sense of, even if it's just communication, knowing this is what's happening today. Now, for some people, that is a timetable. I mean, honestly, I've been through phases, and some of my friends on here will probably remember these phases where I would have an Excel spreadsheet with every hour of every day of what's going on, down to nothing like that. And at the end of the day, writing on the back of a napkin, this is what we've done today. And I've done everything in between. But what I do know is I am a huge proponent of the word rhythm. And rhythm is a big part of our language in our house, because it has a different feel to it, and rhythm can be returned to. So there are key points, and just from raising children, meals are brilliant things. Food is a great thing to base our days around, and to kind of, even just if that's the only time your child sits still, get a book out and start to read. And so sometimes it's helpful to navigate the day around meal times, around food times. But having, you could be a person who actually says, you know what, Leah, I love a timetable. I like to know what's going on. Then that's fine. But communicate to your children in a certain way that actually helps them and creates security in them. You can do things like loop schedules or loop schedules. So a loop schedule is where you have a whole list of the subjects you want to cover, or the books you want to read, or the activities you want to do. And rather than having set times and set days to do those, you just loop your way through them throughout a week or throughout a month. So you feel like, okay, I've got that security of things are getting done, but you're not constricting yourself and tying yourself to a set time. I think what homeschoolers, and it's not even young homeschoolers or beginning homeschoolers, I think homeschoolers generally, what we can repeatedly get ourselves caught up in is this language around what if there are gaps, what if I'm behind, what if I'm kind of missing out something here. So rhythm, have the word rhythm in your mind. That's really what we work around, and rhythm can be returned to. So have a look at the day. How do you and your children work within that day? How does it, how is it moving? How does it naturally feel? And you might need to do some time, do some weeks, do some months if you're brand new, to figure out that. And then if you need to write it down, but this is another phrase I'll leave you with. There's no expectation without explanation. And I think sometimes that you can have an expectation of your children to know what's going on, and you haven't told them. So there's no expectation without explanation. And so communicate what's going on, and think about rhythm rather than strict kind of lines and timetables, and try that. But understand yourself, understand your children, work with what you've got, and you'll find your freedom there. Hope that's helpful. It's kind of scratching the surface, really.
It is scratching the surface because we're trying to fit a lot in one evening. And thank you for that. I think the thing to remember is that you're a family at the end of the day. You're not a school. And
absolutely,
you don't need the whistles or the bells or whatever. So but as we'll try and get through everything, and then we'll have to try and come back to some things later if we've got time. So thank you so much, Leah.